Hi everyone, this is Alexis. I'm just starting now to tap into the energy and look at the teachings and the channelings that I will be bringing through in the second part of this Beyond Doorways series. And it's interesting because we're doing the series around Easter, and the whole energy behind what I will be bringing through is the teachings around and the mysteries around what the process of resurrection really is. That was actually, we saw through Jesus's crucifixion. And this story relates to the more ancient teachings around resurrection, symbolized by Jesus's crucifixion at this particular time of the year on the planet. I'll be channeling some information through and giving insight into some visions that I've had around the time of this resurrection, and really looking at some of the channelings and teachings that have come through with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene that were there at the time of Jesus's crucifixion. That really is a story that represents a more ancient teaching around the goddess Isis and god Osiris and Horus, these ancient teachings around the god and goddesses of ancient Egypt. What the story of resurrection of Jesus' crucifixion represents, that we are not just mortal, that we are divine, and that we, through a transference shift or vital time of resurrection, we are in a time of rebirth. That through the death and dying, that we are crystallizing more of our light body system, our subtle bodies, and transcending beyond the physical world in which we've been living in for a period of time, more into a higher plane. That's part of our evolutional process. Mother Mary brings through and represents the Holy Spirit. She is the vessel through which we absorb pure prana created by nature, the God Goddess. And through that absorption, we heal our body genetically, we heal past pain, we absorb, crystalline, purify, and absorb more of the prana for the birthing of our oversoul, the soul of our higher self, and the soul and consciousness through which our spirit utilizes to birth more of its divine self. So I'll be bringing through channelings and vibrations through Mother Mary to help us heal and for the absorption of our oversoul. And then I'll be working with channelings and energies through the divine guidance of Mary Magdalene. She is a lineage holder of a much more ancient vibration that was birthed at the very beginning of the Egyptian mystery schools as well. And she holds a vibration that enables us to tap into and utilize our Kundalini to support the alchemical changes that are going on in our body as we anchor more of our higher self and crystalline our divine I am. And she also gives us insight and the ability to optimize our Kundalini for the awakening of our third eye. Now, once our third eye awakens, our sensory perception comes alive. So through Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, we're embodying ancient vibrations of the goddess to enable us to alchemically rebirth. And through Jesus' resurrection, we see that we can birth more of our higher and divine self as we evolve, and that we then can crystalline more of our Adam Cadman form. We're living in higher consciousness. We're entering into dimensions and realms of God's many kingdoms. We're actually living our interdimensionality. But in this part of the webinar series, I want to give more insight and information that I've channeled around what the death and dying process is, what happens when we go through it, and then how we can optimize energy and elements at a time of transference and go through this rebirthing without actually going through the death and dying. So there will be a lot of healing, there will be a lot of prayer and invocations that enable us to transcend beyond the limitations of pain, the past, and be reborn into a divine self. I'll also be focusing on two specific invocations and meditations in the Beyond Always book that I have never done with the public. So I'm going to be channeling that invocation, so you can go back and listen to that anytime. The first one is the Holy Spirit invocation, where that invocation was written through the divine guidance of Mother Mary to help us absorb the Holy Spirit, or this purified prana, to heal ourselves and to transcend into our divine self more, which is represented by represented by Mother Mary holding Jesus as a baby, saying that we can rebirth our divine self as we evolve in consciousness and being. So that invocation will help a deep healing come through and enable us to just let go and transcend more and anchor more light and co-create a higher reality in our day-to-day life. The second invocation I'll be doing is the death and rebirth invocation, which it goes into enabling us to help loved ones who are going through the death and dying to take that transition with more ease, less pain in the physical, and because what actually happens through the death and dying, that we actually anchor more into our higher self and our light body, and to help us through that invocation, not only read that with others that are going through a really difficult time, they're in a health crisis, or to help ourselves when we're in a health crisis, or we're at a really big time of transference shift on the planet, where we're really being a sense of going through a sense of rebirth in either a health crisis or a profound spiritual awakening. I will also be going into reflecting how the story of the Holy Family at the time of Jesus' resurrection, with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene there, reflects on a much more ancient mysteries of Egypt, related back to the goddess Isis, the god force Osiris, and Horus. So I'll be reflecting back on the resurrection stories around ancient Egypt through these god and goddesses. And I'll even be going even further back and reflecting on how the story of the Holy Family around the time of resurrection really reflects back to a time when the universe was being created and supported through the goddess Hathor. So there will be such sacred energy running, and really through this time, a time of worship and prayer, but more related to the bigger picture of the story of the resurrection, and seeing and feeling our own divinity as I channel this information through. So I'm really looking forward to joining you at this incredible time, Easter, and going into this time of introspection, prayer, alchemy, and healing, and really supporting our enlightenment process as we do that. So really looking forward to connecting up with you. Blessings.